Let me tell you the moment America felt breakable. Not the debt ceiling, not the market crash, not even the blackout drills. No. It was the sound of steel jaws eating the east wing of the White House while the government was shut down and the watchdogs were furloughed. In the middle of a shutdown, with federal oversight agencies either closed, hollowed out, or run by loyalists, the president signed off on bulldozers tearing into a Roosevelt-era piece of the White House, without the normal public review, without the normal approvals, without the country even understanding what was happening. And they called it modernization. This wasn't just renovation, this was erasure. Here's what they don't want you to remember. The East Wing wasn't just extra office space, like some guest house you can bulldoze for a mega ballroom. The East Wing is where every First Lady since Rosalind Carter kept her own office and staff, when that finally became normal and official in the late 1970s. It's where social secretaries and advance teams planned state dinners, funerals, condolence calls, diplomacy by handshake. It's where the calligraphers and correspondence staff handled the emotional face of the United States. It's where Betty Ford once said, "If the West Wing is the mind of the nation, then the East Wing is the heart." That wasn't poetry. That was a map. The West Wing runs power. The East Wing runs humanity. It's also where visiting Americans started their White House tours. You didn't just walk into the People's House through the front door like a movie. You lined up at the East Wing, cleared security, walked that long East Colonnade past the Jacqueline Kennedy Garden, and entered the executive residence through the ground floor. That pathway, that ritual, told you, this is yours. And beneath it, in 1942, during World War II, Franklin Delano Roosevelt ordered the East Wing expanded not just to balance the West Wing visually, but to hide the brand new underground emergency command center, what we now know as the Presidential Emergency Operations Center. That's the continuity of government nerve center for when the unthinkable happens. So, no. The East Wing was not just a hallway or some add-on, it was public access, First Lady power, ceremonial diplomacy, national memory, and literal wartime survival infrastructure poured into concrete. It was a living organ in the body of the presidency, and we cut it out. In October 2025, demolition crews ripped down the entire East Wing, the whole thing, including the East Colonnade, to make room for a 90,000 square foot ballroom the president personally wanted. 90,000 square feet. For comparison, the entire historic White House, the executive residence plus both wings, is around 55,000 square feet. We are replacing the heart of the White House with an event space bigger than the White House itself. We're told it's privately funded. The price tag jumped from $200 million to about $300 million overnight. The administration won't release the donor list. Ask yourself why people anonymously drop 9 figures to build a presidential ballroom during a shutdown. We're told it's modernization and longevity. We're told the East Wing will be rebuilt even better. Translation: trust us, don't look. Meanwhile, images from October 23, 2025 show that the East Wing, the First Lady's offices, the public entryway, the bunker cover, is gone. Flattened, piles, skeleton beams, open dirt. And here's the part that should make your stomach drop. Multiple federal commissions are supposed to review and sign off on permanent changes to landmark federal structures in D.C., including demolition, scale, sightlines, and historic preservation. That process exists, so no single president can just carve the White House into whatever he wants. Those commissions? Some of them were offline, unfunded, or being chaired by the president's own appointees because of the ongoing shutdown and staffing freeze. So the bulldozers rolled in before the paperwork ever did. This is how institutions die now. Not in a fire, in a procedural gap. For over a century, presidents have absolutely changed the White House. Theodore Roosevelt built the first small East Wing in 1902 to move crowds and carriages off the main entrance. Franklin Roosevelt blew it out in 1942 to handle wartime staff and hide the PEOC bunker. But those changes served national function: war readiness, public access, staff capacity. This change serves personal spectacle. We're not talking about reinforcing foundations like the Truman Reconstruction in the late 1940s, when the White House interior was literally collapsing and had to be rebuilt for safety. We're not even talking about Melania Trump's tennis pavilion and garden redo from years ago, which actually went through approval by the National Capital Planning Commission, NCPC. We're talking about erasing an entire presidential wing that symbolized both public access and the First Lady's independent political power, and replacing it with a private ballroom that can seat 900 for elite events. This is historically wrong because it cuts out a wing whose entire meaning since the 1970s has been that the First Lady is not ornamental. She's operational. It severs the normal entrance that made citizens feel, physically, like they were walking into their house. It was done in a way designed to avoid friction. Demolition first, questions later, instead of going through the public, on-record review that every other administration has respected. And here's the nightmare detail. That bunker? The Presidential Emergency Operations Center, the continuity of government hideaway under the East Wing, was supposed to be covered, disguised, protected. That's why it was built there in 1942. Now its location, its shielding, its footprint, and any upgrades or weaknesses are part of a construction site being run by private contractors and donors whose names we don't have. Read that again. We just handed out the floor plan to what happens if Washington is under attack, and we did it as a vanity project. When you bulldoze the East Wing, you're not just tearing down plaster, you're setting precedent, because if you can quietly erase a quarter of the White House during a shutdown, when Congress is paralyzed, and the agencies that would normally scream are dark or answering to you, then the system is no longer guarding the building. The building is now guarding you. That's monarchy energy. This is how democracies rot. Not all at once, but wing by wing. The White House has always been two things at once: a workplace for the executive branch and a symbol of the country that supposedly belongs to the people. The East Wing sat exactly at that intersection. It's where the public entered, where the non-elected half of the White House, the First Lady and her staff, could shape policy on addiction, health, literacy, mental health, education. When you rip that down and replace it with a private ballroom for 900 guests, built with undisclosed money, you are announcing a new priority. Access is for the invited. History is flexible. Oversight is optional. And national symbols are personal real estate. This is the part future textbooks will boldface if we even get textbooks that aren't AI scrubbed by then. Because this moment, the demolition of the East Wing in October 2025, didn't happen in a vacuum. It happened while the government was in shutdown for over 3 weeks, with federal workers missing paychecks and core agencies partially offline. While the administration argued that demolition doesn't count as construction, so no approval was technically needed yet. While the president said the old wing was not much left from the original anyway, implying history is whatever he says it is. While America is being told, this isn't a big deal, calm down. As if tearing out a chunk of the White House, the literal White House, is the same as swapping drapes. So here's the prophecy. When an empire starts editing its monuments in real time, when oversight is treated like a suggestion, when access becomes invitation only, and when national memory is scraped off with an excavator bucket under floodlights at 3 a.m., that empire is rehearsing for a world where it no longer has to ask. Today, it's a ballroom. Tomorrow, it's who's allowed inside it, and after that, who counts as the people at all. If you think this is about architecture, you missed it. This is about power mapping itself onto the physical world. Because once you change the map, you change who gets to live in it. Don't scroll past this. Remember the date. October 23, 2025. That was the day we watched the heart of the White House ripped out, and nobody could stop it. The day the East Wing died. History doesn't vanish, it gets taken.